What if the secret to unstoppable motivation was actually hiding in how you fold your laundry? Okay, this might sound ridiculous, I know, but stay with me because this is one of those tiny shifts that can have a massive ripple effect and seriously change everything. Because we all have those tasks, right? The ones that we dread, whether it's filling out reports or clearing out your inbox or making that awkward call or folding the umpteenth load of laundry. But here's the thing. When we don't enjoy a task, there are signs and it shows. We drag our feet, we procrastinate, we start negotiating with ourselves. But as we all know, there are some tasks that whether we like them or not, they just have to get done. So the real question becomes, how do you show up for the things that you don't enjoy without losing your motivation in the process? Let's be real. When you are juggling a career, a life, relationships, the last thing you need is to get stuck in a cycle of dread and delay, right? And this is where self-leadership comes in. Because instead of trying to push yourself through, you actually learn how to pull yourself forward. And that, my friends, is what we are diving into today. Hello there, I am Dr. Laura Miner, a board-certified leadership coach who helps people just like you cultivate their inner leader for massive outer impact. And today we are digging into one of my favorite self-leadership strategies, natural rewards, which specifically comes from pillar number 3, which is how you motivate yourself. Now, if you have not seen my video on the 3 pillars of self-leadership yet, don't worry. I'll drop that link in the description below. It's a great way to see how this piece fits into the bigger picture. Now, you'll still get a ton of benefit from this video on its own, but that link is there if you want to check it out after. Okay, so one thing I want you to know, natural reward strategies are not some fluffy mindset trick. These are a research-backed part of self-leadership, and they have been studied for decades. And in essence, what they do is they help you change your experience with a task by shifting your focus. So instead of fixating on what's annoying or boring or draining, you learn how to tap into what is personally meaningful and maybe even enjoyable right there in the middle of the task itself. And that shift, it has been shown to increase energy, elevate confidence, spark motivation, and enhance performance. And yes, I've seen it play out in the research as well as in my client work, but I also personally live it every day. As one example, a few weeks ago, I had a long list of follow-ups that I needed to send out. It included things like invoices, I had to do a report for a corporate client, I had status check-ins to do with one-on-one clients, and while none of it was hard work, it was just tedious. It's the kind of work that doesn't necessarily excite me, but obviously it still needs to be done. But for some reason, I had avoided it for days. And the more I avoided it, the heavier it felt. And when I realized I was about to move it forward in my agenda yet again, I paused. And in this space, I got curious and I asked myself, what is making this feel so heavy? And how could I lighten it, even if it's just by a little tiny bit? And this pause made space to pull some natural rewards into the equation. Instead of focusing on how boring the tasks were, I shifted my focus to what felt good about it. For me, this included things like clearing mental space, following through, and knowing I was creating ease for myself on the other side. Then I looked at how I could infuse a bit more fun into the equation. So I turned on a favorite playlist, and then I decided to intentionally treat each message as a connection point, not just a task to crank out. And this gave me an opportunity to leverage my creativity, which is one of my strengths, and to make those messages more fun. It was no longer about the message. It was, how can I connect with my clients in a really meaningful way? And when I made these shifts and I did these things, the heaviness I was feeling before lifted. Now, to be clear, I didn't suddenly love the work. I didn't suddenly find myself passionately enthusiastic about doing invoicing, but I stopped dreading it. I moved through it faster, and I felt more in control. And because of this, I ended the day feeling energized by the work instead of depleted by it. And that is the power of this strategy, because the tasks themselves didn't change, but my relationship with those tasks did. And that shift is what natural reward strategies are all about. It's not about bribing yourself with a latte if you get the thing done. It's about looking inside the task and intentionally finding the elements that connect to your values, your strengths, and your identity. And this isn't something that just magically worked for me. There are decades of research behind it. In fact, not only is it a key part of self-leadership, but it also shows up in motivation science and self-determination theory, so there's a lot to back it. You see, when you focus on the naturally rewarding aspects of a task, your brain actually processes that task differently. You don't just complete it, you start to feel more capable, more engaged, more in control. Plus, as the research shows, natural reward strategies increase energy and persistence, they reduce emotional resistance, and they elevate performance. Not because the task itself got easier, but because the experience of completing the task changed. And that is the magic of self-leadership. It lets you reshape how you meet the moment, even when the moment feels small or mundane. And when you do this consistently, you move yourself from practicing self-leadership to becoming a self-leader. So how do you actually start putting this powerful practice into effect? Well, let me show you what this can look like in everyday life. Let's say you are dreading a team meeting. Instead of focusing on how long it might drag on, try putting your attention on what you actually enjoy about it, like helping someone solve a problem or coming up with ideas that enhance the customer experience. Those are ways to infuse it with more meaning. Or maybe, let's say after a long day, making dinner feels like more of a chore than a choice. Instead of seeing it as just another chore, try reframing it as a way that you show up and care for yourself, or maybe care for your family, and then look for ways to intentionally make it more enjoyable. Perhaps you can listen to a favorite podcast or dance it out while prepping your food. The key is that the task itself, it doesn't change, but your relationship with the task transforms the entire experience. By the way, if this is resonating with you, would you please do me a huge favor? Would you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel? It lets me know that my ideas are hitting the mark, But it also lets YouTube know that these ideas are worth sharing, which helps me out so much. So thank you for that. All right, so the next time you catch yourself resisting a task or slipping into that I just don't wanna mode, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what part of this feels heavy and why? Sometimes just naming it helps to deflate it. Number 2, how could you make this task feel a little bit lighter, even if it's just by a bit? Maybe you could shift the setting or change the intention behind the task, or simply address the way that you are approaching it. And number 3, what's the deeper reason that this task matters, either to you or to someone you care about? Because meaning is a powerful motivator, and even small reminders can re-anchor us to our bigger why. Now, I realize on the surface, these may seem like simple questions, but they're actually self-leadership in practice. And they empower you to lead yourself with curiosity instead of criticism. And this is what it looks like to motivate yourself from the inside out. You're not waiting for the task to magically get easier. No, you're choosing how you meet it. You're shifting your experience with it. And that is how your motivation becomes sustainable. Not because everything is fun, but because you know how to find the fun that is waiting to be discovered. All right, now that you know how to spark motivation by changing your experience with the task, let's talk about how to take action in a way that continually creates real results. Because motivation is powerful, but without the right kind of follow through, it's prone to just fizzle out. So join me here and let's take the kind of intentional action that builds real, lasting momentum and helps you develop your inner leader for massive outer impact. I will see you there when you're ready.